Hello everybody and welcome back to a new video. Today we're back with another wrap up, but I think I might kind of combine this with like what's left on my summer TBR, like what's on my September TBR kind of thing. I only read 5 or 6 books in August. I was actually about to say September. Get with the program, babes. Okay, so I've just double checked and I did actually read 7 books in total in August. I actually thought that I read less because I have only read 3 physical books. But yeah, 7 in total. We are kind of still on the summary reads, which you will see I still do have some for my September TBR. But let's just get into it. 3 of the books were actually part of a series. If you haven't gathered by now in these wrap-ups, I'm such a series girl. But we'll get onto those in a minute because I've read them on my Kindle. We'll go through the physical books first. So I read 3 physical books. And the first one was Summer Romance by Annabelle Monaghan. This was actually in my last reading vlog. I rated this a 4.75. I literally loved this book so much. This was my first book of hers and it follows Ali, who is going through a divorce, and she is kind of like rediscovering herself outside of a relationship, herself as a mother, as a person in general. But it does have like deeper themes. Like it's not just like a romance, it kind of deals with grief, like I said, rediscovering yourself, motherhood, everything like that. Like I absolutely love this one so much. Like I loved the writing style. I think I said in that vlog that it kind of gave me like Abby Jimenez, Emily Henry kind of vibes, where like, yes, it's a romance, but the way that she writes and the way that she talks about other topics as well, I don't know, I just absolutely loved this one, like so much, a ridiculous amount. Like it really gave me, I don't know how to explain it, but like some of the quotes, just when you are like reading it right off the bat, like it'll just be in there in a random paragraph, were making me tear up. I did again read this one in the vlog, but I'm going to read it here. You get a dog and you know 2 things. You're going to fall in love with it and it's going to die one day. You knowingly walk headfirst into a heartbreak. That's the basic madness of dog ownership. Like I am literally just obsessed with the way that she writes, the way that like everything. And then another one. It's madness loving someone like this. I must be a natural born risk taker. In fact, it's possible that I'm just foolhardy enough to be happy. Spring is always coming and I know for sure that I will always have a dog. Literally gonna cry even thinking about it. This was everything to me and I really want to read more of her books. I honestly think that I might even change this to a 5-star rating because since I finished this book I have not stopped thinking about it. Like I devoured this. I think I've read it in like 2 sittings and I want to read more of her books. I wish that this book was longer. Like I just loved it. I will say that it wasn't very like plot driven. It was more character focused and sort of like you're going through the motions with her rather than it being like they've met and this happens and then this is a conflict and this is like, I don't know, but I loved that. I do love a character focused book, but 10 out of 10 from me. Like literally love this one so much. Then next up we have A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston, and I know that I just said that I loved character driven books, but this one felt a little bit flat for me, which I was really upset about because The Dead Romantics and The 7-Year Slip I absolutely loved. Like they were very near to 5-star reads for me. I love Ashley Poston's writing style. Like she again is one that I feel like the way that she writes is so much more than just a romance book. In all of her books there is like a magical realism quality. So like in The 7-Year Slip you have almost like a time travel element. In The Dead Romantics you have the fact that the male main character is a ghost. And then this book centres around our main character Eileen. She basically finds herself in the world of her favourite romance book. Like she ends up in the town, the characters are there, and I feel like the premise of this book was so much better than the execution, and I still enjoyed it, don't get me wrong, but I think I would rate this around about like a 3.25. Like it was an enjoyable book, a very cosy read. I just didn't feel very connected to the characters, and I feel like it focused a lot on the characters that were a part of the book. So like not her friends, nothing to do with her. Obviously she ends up in that sort of like fictional world and a lot of the focus was put on those fictional characters. if that makes sense, which, like I said, I really do not mind a character-driven book. A lot of my favourite books are books that are character-driven and more character-based, like the Magnolia Park series, the Addicted series. But for this one, it was almost like surface level. Like, yes, you got little bits of them, but it was kind of just about how their story impacted the main character, how the main character was helping out with fixing the problems that they were having, and the romance was kind of like on the back burner, which, as I've just said with summer romance, I actually don't mind when there's other themes, or like when, yes, it's a romance book, but it's not kind of all about the romance. Like, I don't mind that. But it was like, the romance was very much put on the back burner. I did enjoy the bits that we got, but it kind of was like longed out. Then all of a sudden it was rushed to kind of like build you up to it. Then he kind of left, and then all of a sudden came back within like the last 2 pages. So like, it just wasn't, the execution of it wasn't my favourite, which I was really upset about, because literally the tagline, have you ever found yourself lost in a good book? Literally. Like, this one was for the book girlies. You end up in your favourite fictional world, but I just didn't love how it was actually done, which I am disappointed about, because I was really looking forward to this one. But it was very cosy, very cutesy, and I did enjoy it still. It just wasn't, I just didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I was going to. Then the last physical book that I read, I literally finished this morning. So maybe I'm not giving it a fair shot in terms of like letting it sell, but I know that I just didn't like this book. And when I say didn't like, I don't want to sound harsh, it just wasn't a bit of me. So that was Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. I have read Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. I read that years ago when I first started getting back into reading, and I did enjoy that one. Obviously, it has tropes that are not my favourite, I do not like. And I feel like we kind of got those same tropes in this one too, which I just don't know why. Like, just leave the cheating trope alone. Leave it out of a book. I don't need it in there. It didn't add anything to me for the story. No, wait, it didn't add anything to the story for me. Like, they didn't need to have other partners. Basically, this book follows our main characters, Fern and Will. They meet 10 years ago, they spend one day together, and they plan to meet up a year from then. They both are apparently thinking about each other non-stop for this year until they meet up, but then when they go to meet up, Fern shows up, Will doesn't. And then allegedly they spend the next 10 years thinking about each other, wondering what the other one's up to. After spending one singular day together, then of course he comes back into her life, and yeah. I don't know, I love a second chance romance, and I really do love like a now and then kind of timeline, but I just felt like this one was unrealistic to me. And yes, I know it's a romance book, it's not meant to be realistic, but like, you're telling me you spend one day with somebody, one singular day, and then you're in love with them for 10 years. Like, you're thinking about them for 10 years. I'm pulling a face, but that is probably something that I would do because I'm delusional. But like, I don't know, I just didn't love the execution of this. As I said, there's like a hinting of like emotional cheating, like some form of cheating trope in there. And honestly, I just did not like the main guy. I didn't really care for the main female character either, like, but the male main character did not do it for me at all. Like, him 10 years later so up himself, and I don't know how to explain it without spoiling, but like, there's a bit where he is dealing with some family issues. Like, that would have been a huge red flag for me, huge red flag. And I understand his reasons behind it, but also like, we're not living with your sister and your niece, babes. Like, we're not doing it. And then the fact that she then at the end of the book was the one that went and kind of like grovelled and like chased after him, it did not sit right with me. I was not a fan. So I actually don't know how I would rate this. Maybe like I was gonna say a 3, but I rated a novel love story a 3. So this one is sitting somewhere around about the 2-star mark, because I literally only started this yesterday. Like, I read it quick, but I didn't enjoy it really. Like, there was bits that I did like I love it now and then timeline, and I like the fact that you've spent one day together, but maybe it doesn't need to be like 10 years. Like, I can cope with the fact if you had spent one day together, you had thought about each other, and then like a year down the line or 2 years, you've bumped back into each other, because that seems like a reasonable amount of time to me if you've had like a really strong connection. But a decade is insanity. Okay, so then all of the next books are part of the same series, and that is the Windy City series. I started this series because I had seen so many people talking about Play Along and posting like little snippets and little quotes of that couple, that book, and I was like, I need to read this. But in order to read that, I was like, I'm gonna have to start the series. But I had heard very mixed things about Mile High, which is the first book. I think Sarah and Destiny both either DNF'd it or gave it like a 1 star. And across like my Bookstagram book talk, I'd heard mixed opinions on that book and that guy. So I was like, I don't really want to like read that book and then that kind of like leave a bad taste in my mouth in terms of like me then not wanting to read the rest of the series. So I actually started on The Right Move and I loved that so much. I think I rated that like a 4.25 or 4.5. So that book follows Ryan and Indy. So Ryan is in the NBA. He is like the most famous basketball player. He plays for Chicago, and then Indy is friends with his sister Stevie, who is the female main character in the first book, but obviously I haven't read that one. And basically Indy moves in with Ryan as like a favour from his sister. He kind of like owes one or something, or like he can't say no to his sister. So she moves in with him and then they start fake dating. So it's like roommates and fake dating. And I just loved that book so much. I feel like I'm doing it no justice here, like talking about it. But oh my god, Ryan Shea, an acts of service king. Like my love language is acts of service, and he just delivered on that like every single time. I was obsessed. I absolutely loved him. I loved Indy as a character. I loved like the way that their story kind of like unraveled and was told. I ate it up. Like I did read all 3 of these books on my Kindle, and I do feel like I read quicker on my Kindle. I don't know what it is, but I was like flying through them. Loved it, absolutely loved it. And then in that book, you get a tiny little snippet of the next guy, which is Kai. Guys, we have a single dad nanny trope. Woo! Literally my favourite. I love that so much. I actually rated this one like a 4. I think I rated this one a 4.5 or a 4.75. Like they just slowly went up. So each book in the series that I read, the guys just got better and better, and I just loved them even more. Like going in, I had high expectations because of Ryan Shea. Then when I moved on to the next book, they were even higher. So this one follows Kai and Miller. So Kai is a baseball player. Don't know much about baseball, so I'm not going to embarrass myself talking about it. Is he a thrower? Can't even remember. Don't know what the proper terminology is. He's not a batter. I believe he is a thrower. But yeah, he has a child. He basically like got this kid. The mother basically left the child with him at like 9 months old or something. So he like obviously took on this child, his child, as a single dad whilst he is like still playing baseball. But he's kind of like teetering on the idea of retiring because he wants to be able to fully commit to raising his son. But all of the baseball team are making like adjustments for him. They all help out like as much as they possibly can. And the coach of the baseball team, Monty, his daughter, Miller, is essentially kind of having a little bit of a career crisis. She is like a famous chef. Like, I don't know if she's got a Michelin star or like, I can't remember. But she basically is so well known in her field, and she kind of is losing her passion for it a little bit. So she takes some time out and she basically ends up nannying for Kai. This was such a long way of me explaining the story. She ends up nannying for Kai. He kind of sees her as like this wild, reckless, kind of like irresponsible type because he is so protective over obviously Max, his child. And she is just amazing with him. Like she is so good with him. And it kind of is like, not an enemies to lovers, but like there's a little bit of animosity there. But just, oh guys, I loved that book so much. There is something about a single dad that would do it for me every time. And Kai was just perfection. Then we go on to the grand finale, which is Play Along. Oh my god. Isaiah Rhodes, the man that you are. I fucking loved him. So as I said, the snippets that I saw from this book were what made me start this series anyway. So like going into it, I was already like, I love this man and I've not even read anything about him. And then like the snippets that you see of him in the other books, because obviously all of the books are kind of like interlinking, they all know each other, which again is another thing that I absolutely loved. Like I loved the found family aspect. I love like they're not interconnecting standalones, but I love when like across a series you get the other couples from another series because they're all friends or they're related. So Isaiah is actually Kai's brother. He also is on the same baseball team. And our female main character, Kennedy, she is the what's it, like a physiotherapist type thing. Like she kind of is there to help out. She's on like the medical team of the baseball team, and it's kind of like hinted at, or it is discussed in the other books, that Isaiah has like been yearning and pining over Kennedy for years, but she kind of passes it off as like, oh, he just wants to sleep with me, like he's just kind of playing a game. Once he gets what he wants, he'll like move on. So she is like strictly professional, none of that. But he is like, he claims to like be in love with her all of the time. Then basically they go and get married. Like they go to Vegas on a drunken night out and end up getting married. Not a spoiler, it's literally on like the back of the book and it is listed as like one of the tropes. So then they start fake dating, or like, well, not even fake dating, it's like a fake marriage. But just the way that he was with her, and like the way that they interacted, the way that their like love story grew. Oh my god, I was obsessed. And like anything that he says, I was foaming at the mouth, guys. I was going feral. I just absolutely love him. And I just loved the way like it was all wrapped up, how they all like connected. Oh my god, I don't even have words. Like I have zero thoughts in my head apart from Isaiah Rhodes. Like I said, the men just got better and better for me. Like they just leveled up each time. And I don't quite know how Isaiah is going to be beat. I'm going to be completely honest. I did actually rate this one a 5 stars. Need I say any more? I honestly can't wait for Rio's book, and I want a Monty book. So I love this series. I think I would actually go as far to say now this is like a 5-star series for me, or like it's almost a 5-star series, even though not every individual book is 5 stars. But like those three, the 3 that I've read, absolutely loved. And then the final book that I read or listened to was The Devil Wears Scrubs by Freya McFadden. I'm not even going to speak about this for very long because I hated it. I will say that I went into it thinking it was going to be a thriller. It is not. It's more of like a comedic type book, I guess, or like that's what it's coined as. It basically follows our main character. Couldn't even tell you her name. She is a nurse, or like she's studying to be a doctor, something in the medical field. She works in a hospital, and it's basically just her shit talking her role, her patients, her colleagues, everything like that. It's just her being a whiny little bitch and being so weird and strange for however long that it was. I did listen to the audiobook, but I think if I was reading it, I would have DNF'd it. I tuned out a lot of it. I would literally give this a 1 star. Like it felt like there was no plot, no character development. Just when you were kind of starting to get to know the characters a little bit more and it felt like something else could have happened, the book ended. Literally hated it. Like I have nothing more to say. But that is all of the books that I read in August. Like I said, carrying on with the summary reads, I don't know whether to show you the books I have left on my TBR, but maybe we'll just do like a quick little whiz through them. I still need to finish all of my summary reads. So I'm a person that very much has genres for different seasons. Like obviously, to me, like a beachy romance, a summer romance is going to be read in the summer. And then like the more thrillers, the dark academia, they are the books that I gravitate towards in the autumn and winter months. But having said that, I've just kept on buying romance books, and now I have quite a lot that I want to read before we fully get into autumn. I'm just going to quickly run through them because I do feel like I have talked about a lot of these books like at length already. I do have a full video where I was going through everything on my physical TBR. I will link that somewhere up here so you can see like the books maybe more in depth. But let's just do a quick little run through, shall we? So I have all of these. I am actually going on holiday in September, so as much as I now want to get into like cozy weather, cozy season, I'm kind of like holding out a little bit until the end of September because I am going on holiday. I'm going to Greece, so I need some of my summer romances with me. And also like in the UK, we've had a pretty shit August, but I feel like September sometimes can be warm. But anyway, these are the books that are still left on my summer TBR. These are the books I'm going to try my hardest to read between now and the end of September, like when I get back from a holiday. I'm counting on the fact that I'm going to read more on my holiday. But let's quickly run through them. I have The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. I actually think this might be my next read. I'm kind of just wanting like a cutesy little palette cleanser, and I think it's only around 300 pages. That is a good thing about all of these books. They're kind of like, I don't want to say low stakes because that sounds like I'm dismissing the books, but like they're cutesy little romances, so hopefully they will be pretty easy for me to get through. Then I have This Summer Will Be Different. Like I said, I have heard really good things about this. I'm hoping I will like this one more than Meet Me at the Lake. And then a newbie that has just joined my collection is Holding the Reins by Paisley Hope. This is a cowboy romance and like a hockey romance, I think, somewhere in the middle of the two. Don't know much about this, but I seen it was a cowboy romance and a few people had said to go and get it, so I did. Then I have two Sarah Adams books. I have Practice Makes Perfect and When in Rome. These just give very much like cute rom-com, easy to read kind of vibes. I think they're around 300 pages. I read the rule book by her and I did really enjoy it. That was like a quick, easy to read rom-com for me. So I'm hoping that these two will be the same. Then I have The True Love Experiment by Christina Lauren. I have only ever read Love and Other Words and one other book by Christina Lauren, but Love and Other Words is actually the only one that I have actually loved. The rest have all kind of like fallen a little bit flat for me, and I've always heard not the best things about them, but I don't know, I'm guessing this will just be like a cutesy little summer romance, as I've said, as are all of these really. Then I have The Graham Effect by Elle Kennedy, which is part of the Off-Campus series. Well, it's not part of the Off-Campus series, but it follows on from that. It follows the male main character's child, or like that couple's child, I believe. So maybe actually I don't need to read this one ASAP because I need to read that series first. And then last up I have 4 Ali Hazelwood books that I would like to read. I don't know if I'll read all of these because then I also have Bride, which is on my like autumn TBR. So we have Love Theoretically, The Love Hypothesis, Checkmate and Not in Love. I also need Love on the Brain because I have not read a single Ali Hazelwood book ever. She is like one of the most hyped up authors and I can't believe I've gone this long without reading any of her books. But I would like to read one soon. I think that I'm gonna like Not in Love the most because I think that one is like her first adult romance. From what I can gather, I think the rest are more like YA. Or maybe this one's her only YA one actually. But I know that this one is meant to be a bit smuttier. I don't know, so I'd like to read at least a few of them because like I said, I have 5 of her books on my TBR and I have not read a single one of them. But that was a quick little whistle-stop tour of the rest of the books that I want to read before the summer ends. Maybe I am setting that a little bit too high, but I really just want to get into my cozy fantasy kind of vibes. I am going to do a video on like what's on my autumn TBR, so stay tuned for that one. But for now, we are still very much in the summer romance, the summer reads kind of vibe. So let me know what books you are reading at the minute, if you are still reading the summery reads or if you're transitioning more into the autumnal reads. And let me know if you have anything else to add to my TBR. Probably shouldn't, but I'm always looking for book recommendations. Thank you so much for watching and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye!